We are live.
We are live.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, you guys. We are just after taking a little lunch break. We've had a busy morning, Paige. Lots and lots of content for our channel, for our YouTube channel. We've done some for your YouTube channel. It's been a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
We don't, I guess, on your channel, do you dive deep into equipment this often?
As much as I can. So we talked about this earlier when we were filming our videos, that I'm such a field player.
Yep.
And so when I go through the fitting process at Club Champion and I'm talking to my master club fitter and they're like, okay, so what do you like? How does it feel? And I'm like, okay, it feels good.
Yeah.
I know what I like, but I don't know how to always explain it.
Right.
And I feel like I am very knowledgeable about the different brands.
You definitely are.
But not at the level that you are. And so I always try to listen and learn from the professionals. And I always just leave it up to you guys to do what you do best.
It was really, I thought it was really fascinating to hear you talk about what you like. And even though you didn't know exactly the makeup of your set, you knew what you liked. And obviously you've given that great information to your fitters in the past, and what they've done is built you the ideal set. There's so much about what you like to feel in shafts and with your wedges and kind of all the different nuances of the set, which we're not going to spoil it because there's videos coming up on Paige's What's in the Bag and Why coming up. We also done sort of a deep dive into your gapping, and maybe where there's some opportunities to maybe add some clubs into the bag that might kind of switch in and out from time to time. I think that's going to be fun to see how they are in the golf course.
100%. Like I said, I'm always learning every single day, and I'm so lucky that I do get to get fit as much as I possibly can. And still, even now, with not any swing changes and really my bag being set, I still learn something new, and that we might be able to switch some things out to make it even better.
Totally.
And that's what I always try to express to people who follow me is go get fit because
Number one.
it is so important, and we saw that multiple times with the videos that we were doing, that small changes can add 5, 10, 15, even 20 yards of a difference. So it is so vital to go and get fit. And when we were talking about like how in depth do I get with, technology and when it comes to the fitting, most people actually don't know a lot about club fittings and what the process is like, and also what how do you make up a club? I mean, I get so many questions like, what's the most important part? Is it the shaft? Is it the club head? Is it what's the difference with the grip? All of these things, and people just really don't know all that much.
I mean, look around us, look at all these shaft options, head options. Within each head option, there's now interchangeable weights and hosel settings and stuff. Like, it is legitimately too much to keep up with now. Even if you're sort of a hobbyist or you just like equipment, I don't think you can kind of figure it all out on your own. And by all means, guys, like if you enjoy that part of the process, do that, right? And then, just know that obviously there's going to be some performance left on the table, but if you want to get the most out of it, you have to get yourself into the fitting bay. You have to get yourself in front of someone who does this day in, day out with years of experience having done it. And that's the only way to get the most out of your game.
100%.
Awesome. Okay, so on our little sort of Q&A format page, we leave it over. We're going to give the mic to the audience, and we sort of jump into some questions. So there will be a bunch of people here that we're familiar with, some new ones for you. But I did see this one on the Instagram, so I want to start there. Have you ever played golf in Canada?
Funny enough, I have never been. So
that's the first thing we need to fix.
I know. My mom, she was a professional ballet dancer, and she trained at the National Ballet of Canada, and so she's kind of adopted that as her home. And so she's always like, you have to go, you're gonna love it. And so I'm dying to go, and I have so many lovely Canadian followers, and so I'm going to do a trip one day. You're gonna have to tell, all of you will have to tell me which courses I should go to.
We will do that. We will do that. Toronto, honestly, is one of the most underrated places to go play.
Yeah.
I would say maybe the public scene it's maybe not one of the best areas for public golf, but in terms of the private clubs, I mean, you see it when Rory goes and plays there in the Canadian Open, and he now keeps going back year on year on year because he just loves it. He gets treated like like one of their own.
Yeah.
He's an adopted Canadian, but there's, you know, the National Golf Club of Canada, there's St. George's Golf Club, Hamilton Golf and Country Club, which Rory loves. There's so many. So, yeah, when you get up there, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Okay. Let's see. When do you consider a swing to be steep? Crouch is asking. What do you think? What do you think in terms of like the different evolutions of your own swing? Have you had kind of times when you're more of a sweeper and shallower versus steeper and taking a bigger divot?
Yeah, I think my swing has changed a lot. And when I was playing professionally, I was more from the inside, and I would hit more of a natural
Turn it over
draw,
a little bit.
but it would turn over too much. And
Right.
so I really started to hate that right to left shot. I couldn't control it. And so in an effort to change that, I started to become too steep.
Right.
And I lost a lot of distance, and I wasn't hitting a fade the correct way.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of people get that confused, where they think that you have to come over the top and hit a fade that way, but it's so slight.
Totally.
And I think when you're talking about shot shaping, most people think it's, 10, 15 yards, but you're really looking at moving it 3 to 5 yards.
Yeah.
And that's what a fade is, or a draw is.
Right.
And so when I would get really steep, I would hit it off the toe, really move it too far. And then I got stuck in this very uncomfortable position where you have the two-way miss, where I would miss it right, and then to save it, I'd come over the top and hit these over the top pull draws, which no one wants ever. And so right now I'm actually working on trying to get it a little less steep. So I'm always trying to look around like 0 to 1 being the max.
Yeah. You've been doing some really good work in your swing. Like I've kind of seen some of the work you've been doing with Jonathan, and it was fun for us just to kind of play around with some stuff in the bay today and maybe see some of the clubs in the bag that you're struggling a little bit with versus ones that you're really thriving with.
Yeah.
And we saw some of that today. Maybe just talk us through some of the things that you didn't like about your game, and sort of Jonathan Yarwood, who's a very reputable coach. Jonathan's one of the absolute top coaches, been at the top level for a long time. When did you know you needed to make some changes to your swing?
So I've always struggled with my ball striking.
Okay.
My entire career, junior golf, college golf, playing that year professionally, and even now that I don't play as much, I've always struggled with hitting greens.
Yeah. You were saying that.
Average 5-6 greens when I was a
even when you're
+4
playing well.
handicap.
That's bonkers.
And I was shooting under par while doing that, because my short game was so incredibly good.
Yeah.
And I always said if I could just hit it a little bit better, I would have 100% have been very successful out on tour. And when you have a lack of confidence with your swing, it really messes with your mind. And so I got the yips, and then I had no confidence, and I hated playing.
Yeah.
I really hated it, because you go on the tee and you just have anxiety on where it's going to go. Like, I don't know where I'm going to miss
Those driver yips are the worst. I had them as well around 2008, 2010, somewhere around about there. It puts you off wanting to play the game.
It really does. And so that was one of the biggest reasons why I decided to step away, more mentally, because I was like, I can't put myself through this anymore. And so I have been searching with a ton of different instructors, because finding a good instructor is like club fitting, where most of them, they're all really good.
Yep.
You have to find one that fits you perfectly.
Yeah.
And so with Jonathan, he just was saying these things that clicked in a very different way than other instructors have told me. And so I would struggle with my takeaway, and we fixed my setup and a couple different things. And I then was finally in the right spots to bring it down and then change the way I was attacking it, because I was coming in so steep, and I was in these positions where I just could not execute and hit the golf shots that I wanted to. So I always knew this was something that I needed to work on and improve, and I was always striving to get to that point. I just never found the right instructor to get me to that point.
Very cool. Well, it makes sense. You talked about when you were playing professionally that Stan Utley was sort of the most influential person from a teaching perspective, and obviously Stan is renowned for his short game coaching. Did you guys ever work any long game stuff together, or was it mostly just short game?
It was always exclusively just short game, and I think that was one of the best things that I could have ever done, because I started working with him when I was, I believe, 15 years old, and I started later. I was 13 when I started playing, and so I didn't really have a lot of instruction right off the bat. And so to work with someone of that caliber, and if you're familiar with Stan Utley, he uses a lot of hand movement, and it's very unconventional at that time, especially to be doing that, because you look at like a Dave Pell's technique, which is straight back, straight through, and you know, the clock and all of these different things, which is great for a lot of players. There's
different
nothing
ways
wrong
of learning.
with that technique at all. But Stan was very throw your hands, use your hands, feel like even with putting, you feel like you're hitting these huge draws and you're always doing that. And so I have so much touch and feel now because of working with Stan, which then carried over to my full swing, where I had to be very creative because I was always in the crap and under trees. And so I'm able to work the ball in every different way. And I always said if I kept playing golf professionally, if I was going to, it's always like a hypothetical, like if you were going to win a major, where would you win it? I would have won an Open, because you do have to be so creative on link style courses, and you have to hit all these different shots, and that is where, and plus the fairways are a little bit wider, so that would have been worked for me.
I love it. Paige, Ozzy's asking, what is the favorite club in your bag and why?
So we talked about this earlier when we were shooting content. So my 54-degree wedge is my baby. I love that club. It's Old Faithful, but it's actually recently turned into my driver. So those are two clubs.
That's a nice turnaround.
I know, which was a club that I hated and had so much anxiety over, and now it's a club where I actually have a lot of confidence in.
That is very cool. So our friend John Jensen, so we do these lives every Monday, and John buys lunch for the crew. So apparently Paige is getting the lunch money today.
Yay!
So that's awesome. Daniel is asking, Ian, which is better for golf, Canada or the UK? Listen, I love Canada. And like I said, Toronto's some great golf, and there's great golf on the East Coast and on the West Coast. But the UK is a little different. I mean, the history of the game, home of the game. So I'm going to obviously say the UK for that one. And Paige, have you played any golf in the UK?
I played, a little bit. So I played the Scottish Open at Dundonald Links.
Nice.
Yeah, made the cut there. So I can make a cut. And like I said,
that place is hard.
It was cold, it was wet, it was windy, and I played well. Like I said, my game just fits a link style golf course, and I really do love playing over there.
I did not know you played at Dundonald.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's see. John saying, I think Paige is from San Diego. Is that where you're from originally, from San Diego?
So originally from Colorado.
Okay.
And
Went
born
to
and
school?
raised there. No. And then I was spending half the year in Colorado, half the year in Arizona.
Okay.
So I was trying to obviously play professionally. And then I ended up going to San Diego State. So I was in San Diego kind of when I started to get like recognition on social media. So most people think I'm from San Diego, but I'm a Colorado girl.
Got it. Mike is saying he loves what you're doing, Paige. Keep up the great content and keep doing it.
Thank you. Thanks, cool. Mike.
Let's see. How were the Bob Does Sports boys?
They're awesome.
So they were
really cool.
there in the UK, I think, or maybe last week or something. They were doing some stuff with Rick Shields at St Andrews of all places. But those boys look like they're a lot of fun.
They're so much fun, and they're so genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that is why they're so successful.
Totally.
I have been in this industry for a while now, and sometimes it's very surprising when you meet someone who you've followed or that you've seen on social media and you meet them in person and how drastically different their personality is, and it's quite shocking.
There's a little bit of that, isn't there?
And I would say that happens more than not, unfortunately. And when I met them, I just wasn't quite sure what to expect because you see their antics and how much fun they are. And normally if someone is really witty on social media,
Yeah.
it means that they will write their content beforehand
Right.
and then they just recite it.
Got it.
And they do it off the cuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's it's really impressive, and it's really cool to see, and how appreciative they are and how much they love what they do. And it's fun to kind of watch their journey, and to now obviously know them and play with them and do a lot of stuff with them.
It seems very organic that it's just 3 guys having a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how, like I knew FP could play. We seen him at the PGA show. We had a kind of night with him at Topgolf. I didn't really realize how good Bob and Joey were. They can both play.
Yeah, I mean, Bob was my partner on one of the videos that we did, and my back is still hurting, so he didn't quite bring it when we played.
So maybe I'll qualify that. I was surprised how well he played in the video with Rick. Maybe that's a better way, because he was like flushing it with like a flat trajectory in the wind. They were playing Dumbarton Links. And I'm like, geez, these boys can play. Like, I didn't know. I knew Perez could play, but I didn't know the other boys could play. So maybe that was. Maybe that was a good game.
I was giving him a hard time, but yeah,
That's
no,
funny.
and they just love to do, and I think that's what's so great about it is that they know they're not maybe the best golfers out there, but it's really relatable content.
I love it. Jason wants to know, what's your most memorable moment in golf?
I would say, in competitive golf, was my senior year at San Diego State University, where I actually transferred in. So I went to University of Arizona first, transferred to SDSU spring of my sophomore year. And when I transferred in, we were unranked.
Right.
And by my senior year, I was team captain. Junior and senior year, we were a top 20 program.
Wow.
And we won our Mountain West Conference Championship at the Dinah Shore course. And we got to jump into the pond, and it was just such a memorable moment to see our team grow and develop, and for me to be a big part of that. So I would say that was one of the most memorable moments.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think, guys, one of the things, obviously, people know whether they followed you for a long time or whether they followed you more recently. I would probably put a significant amount of money on people who have no idea how good of a player you are. And I've had a chance to see that today. People have no idea how good of a player you are.
No idea. And I think it's because of two reasons. So when I first kind of blew up on the scene, it was because I got a sponsor invitation to play an LET event in Dubai.
Yeah,
and it was
that,
my very first pro tournament. I was fresh out of college, still kind of deciding what I wanted to do, and I didn't play well.
Right.
I was not ready for the pressure, and I shot 77, 79. And so everyone then assumed that I wasn't that good of a player because of those two scores. And I've said countless times, hey guys, I made the cut at the Scottish Open, or my low is a 63, or I was a +4 handicap, or all of these things. And even now, I can still shoot, under par. And I dedicated so much of my life to golf, much of my life to golf. And at times, yes, it is frustrating that is still the narrative around who I am and the level of play. But I also know that it's, a double-edged sword, and I've built this brand, and whether you agree with it or not, sometimes that takes the focus and less of, my playing ability. But it is what it is, and I just have to continue to create content and hopefully keep showcasing my golf knowledge and my ability. But people will always have doubts or things that they'll say. But when you have dedicated so much of your life to something, and they're like, "You suck," I'm like, "I don't."
I promise.
I really don't.
Well, I think the content that we've shot today, we were just chatting about at lunch. There's enough of your content that will validate how good of a player you are. But for our audience, and if you maybe haven't seen a lot of Paige's on-course content and that type of thing, you'll be pleasantly surprised. You'll be surprised by, and we were using the technology to show, it was really good in there.
Thanks.
It was really, really good in there.
I paid him to say that.
Yeah, I know. We had multiple takes. No, we were literally calling Paige one take, because it was literally like, okay, do this, and should just do it. And doing your gapping session of your clubs, and you called it, like you said, these were the clubs you struggle with, and these are the ones you hit well. And then right on cue, as we're going through your session, you flushed the ones that you love, and you struggled with the ones that you don't like. It was right on cue. So it'll be fun, I think, for people to see those videos. I think it'll be good.
I'm excited.
What's your favorite course in Colorado?
Oh, I would say, so I don't really ever play country clubs or private golf courses, and especially in Colorado, I go to Foothills and I go to Highlands Ranch, which is now the Denver University. It's their practice facility, so I'll play there. And then I'll go to Fox Hollow, which I just love a good muni and a public golf course, and I just feel more at home and comfortable there.
Yeah.
And those three places, they've just been really warm and welcoming and allowing me to shoot content, and really, really great, kind, nice people. And so those are three of my favorites.
Very cool. MB Golf is asking who your favorite LPGA and PGA golfers are, but did any of the players that you played in your college program end up making it onto the tour?
There's a couple who are attempting right now, but mostly from my graduation year in high school. So I was a 2011 grad, and that was Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Like I could name a ton of other players who, Denny McCarthy and Anthony Palucci, and list goes on and on and on, of all these players that I grew up playing golf with, and Lexi Thompson and J. Marie Green, and I mean the Cordes sisters. Well, Nellie's quite younger, but Jessica. And so it is really cool to see these players that I grew up playing against, and most of them you knew were going to be very successful.
They were that good.
I remember like junior PGA, Justin Thomas shot a 62, and Lexi was always winning, and she was out driving the boys, and so you can tell. Like there's just something special about certain players, and then to see them actually get it done it's been awesome.
So LPGA favorite player, PGA Tour favorite player. Is it fair to say?
That's a tough one.
Tough one.
I would say PGA Tour. I mean, we all owe everything to Tiger Woods, so I don't know if we're talking about current, but I would say Tiger for sure. And then Max Homa, I think that he has done a fantastic job of balancing being a highly ranked PGA Tour player, one of the best in the world, and also having a really strong social media presence, which is vital to the growth of the game. And I really wish a lot of them would utilize social media, because when you compare golf to other sports, basketball, for example, and you look at LeBron James and Steph Curry, and the list goes on, they have 50+ million people who follow them. And then with golf, I'm the most followed golfer, which is insane. That should not be how it works out. And so there's something missing there. There's a piece that is missing. And so I think if more golfers were able to utilize social media to show their personality, then it would reach new demographics, and we'd get more people into the game and at these events. And so I think Max has shown younger players that this is a great way to gain support, because the narrative has always been, if you use social media as a distraction to what you want to do. And for some players, yes, I think that is true. You do have to handle outside opinions, and sometimes it can be quite difficult, but you gain so much more support. Even before Max really started racking up those wins, he had massive groups of people following him and supporting him. And so I think that what he's done has been absolutely incredible.
He's got the perfect balance, isn't he? He's been successful on the course, he engages with the fans, he does his swing roasts, which are probably the funniest thing in golf. You're 100% right. If there's one guy who gets it right now, it's him.
100%.
Sure.
And people are following now by what he's done, which is really cool.
I love that. Love that. Let's see. Matt is asking, going to Scotland at the end of the week, would you suggest going with a higher flying, further carrying driver versus a lower flighted driver? Did you ever change your equipment for where you kind of would travel to different places to play? Or would you just adapt your setup and launch conditions around that?
I would just adapt.
Yeah. I would say, Matt, I wouldn't suggest taking a different driver. I mean, the only time you ever really see players when they go over and play maybe the Open or something, it's normally 2 irons and lob wedges. Those are the clubs that kind of change a little bit. Maybe they'll take a hybrid or a 5-wood out, a 2 iron will go in, a lower bounce lob wedge or something like that might go in. But I would say honestly stick to what you've got and maybe make some adjustments to your ball flight. Maybe have the ball turning over a little bit more in the wind just to keep that spin rate down, and that will make sure your land angle is a little bit flatter and chases out a little bit more when it hits the fairway. But I wouldn't change just specifically for the trip. I have to ask this because Jason must have asked it 1,700 times. Paige, have you ever been to Melbourne Beach, Florida?
No. I was just seeing that question too, and I was like, I've never been. But if I go, you'll have to send some recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. John's asking, are you an Arcos user? You're not huge on relying on data, are you? I mean, we chatted about that. It's the feel element is what you rely on more than the data.
Yeah, I think that data is really important for certain people, and I also think that it's important to know where you are missing shots, because when you go through your data or you keep your stats, whether you just keep it on your scorecard or you do it electronically, you can see where you're missing out. And I think some people think that they're bad at their irons, but they're bad at their irons because they're inconsistent off the tee. And so if you're leaving yourself in the rough, then you're not going to have a good shot to hit the green. And it goes same for short game, or where they're missing their short game shots. I think they're a bad putter. Well, you're leaving yourself, 30 feet after a really bad short game shot. And so then it's like, okay, where are you actually missing out, and where can you improve? And I think that's where I try to use data in my game. But I'm not one to really dig into the stats. It just doesn't quite connect for me.
I think, again, back to what we're talking about, your role as a golfer is to play the game and golf your ball. If you really want to get into stats, there's lots of people out there who are great with stats. There's lots of statisticians who will do that type of thing. And to get into those level of details, sure, there's great systems out there that will do it for you automatically. But, I think if someone's so preoccupied with understanding every nuance of their stats, I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, like Matt Fitzpatrick, right? Which making note of every shot he's hit since he was 17 or whatever it is insane. But I don't think that should be the role of the golfers to worry that much about everything else going on around the game.
I saw him hitting on the range at the Masters, and he was not writing down after every single shot. So I don't know about that one, Matty Fitz.
We'll forgive you if you bring home 5 points for the European team in the Ryder Cup.
Oh, actually, I'm interested.
Yep. We've got a little divide sitting right here right now.
So obviously Zach Johnson announced the final team. How do you feel about the last 6 players? Because it was a bit divisive on social media yesterday.
Yeah, so I would say for 20 years, the US have had a phenomenal group of individuals playing in the Ryder Cup. Every other year we'd hear about their world ranking averages, their, the money and how much better they are than the Europeans. But the one thing they were not was a team. When Zach Johnson picked those 6 guys yesterday, I looked at the dynamic around that versus the guys who'd kind of qualified automatically, and now I think he has maybe the strongest team I've ever seen on a US Ryder Cup.
Yeah,
I just think all sort of all dynamics, all formats. In the team room, if someone's struggling a little bit, Justin Thomas is still struggling when he gets there a little bit. Well, he's got Ricky and Jordan and all these people that know his game, and they're like, they can help him with this and that. I just think that it is one of the best teams I've ever seen on a Ryder Cup. What do you think?
It's hard to say, because I think that the European team this year is going to be deadly.
Do you really?
So strong.
No, you need to convince me of this one, because I'm sitting here dreading this Ryder Cup. I'm dreading it. I'm absolutely dreading it.
It's almost flipped, like what you said, where I feel like the European team right now has the strongest player, but maybe doesn't have as quite of a tight-knit group of guys. But when you look at Team USA, if I'm Team Europe, I would actually be licking my chops looking at Justin Thomas, because you know for a fact all they're talking about is how he's struggling right now. And then you have Scotty Scheffler, who struggles with his putting, and then you also have Colin Morikawa, who also struggles with his putting under pressure. And Jordan Spieth can be a little bit up and down. So you're looking at the entire team, and Brooks really hasn't been around these guys as much as before. And then you have Brian Harman and Wyndham Clark, who are kind of just, you know.
It'll be the dynamic with those guys. Like, I looked at the 6 yesterday, the picks, and I'm like, if I had to play 6 versus 6, I'd take the 6 picks over the 6 guys who qualified, because of the experience, because of the camaraderie. Like, Wyndham Clark and Brian Harman obviously qualified on merit, but will they play more than 3 games?
It's really going to be interesting, and I know that we always focus on team camaraderie and everyone gelling together. But I also feel that you need people that you hate, because if Justin Thomas is great friends with everyone, where's the Patrick Reed? Like,
I was going to say, we don't have a Patrick Reed this time.
You want to play against people who you don't like, because they can get in your head, and that's what you need in match play. That's why like an Ian Poulter or Sergio Garcia, they were so good because they can get under your skin, and everyone on the U.S. team is so likable. Like, how
they
can
really
you look
are.
at them? Like,
really
you can't get under, they can't get under their skin. So I think there's like a little bit of that too, and I feel so bad for Keegan Bradley.
I do as well. I think, and Lucas Glover, like, he's finally figured it out with the putter. He wins twice, and he really wasn't mentioned really in the kind of run up to it. I think Keegan Bradley was one that was really unlucky, I think, not to get get a pick.
And then when he said, like, I'm just not as close with the guys on the team, and I tried, and I've always felt like an outsider, I was like, oh,
I know. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting for sure.
It'll be an interesting one.
It will. Golfins, we are not going to dive into Paige's What's in the Bag, because we done that today, What's in the Bag and why. Dive into the 14 clubs that are in there right now. There's lots of other things around head covers, and there's stamping, there's lots to uncover with that one. It'll be fun. This is good. JB is asking, any tips for a college golfer on how to calm their nerves and play better in tournaments?
So I actually have a lot of insight on this, because that was my biggest problem.
Was it really taking your...
I really struggled under pressure. And I think it has to do with not feeling confident with my swing, and so it just induced a ton of anxiety, and it's hard to play when you're not feeling confident, because I would go and I do practice rounds and shoot 64, 65, and then tournament day I would go and shoot high 70s, and I'm like, what happened? So I've seen a lot of sports psychologists, a lot of therapists, and the best thing you can do, it's all very individualized. So you can do visualization, you can do a lot of outside work for reading and journaling and breathing techniques. I think one of the best keys that I ever learned was how to breathe properly. So one of my sports psychologists said to put your hand on your stomach, and you want your stomach to expand, because most people, when they breathe, they go. And
do proper diaphragmatic breathing.
All of the tension happens up here with your shoulders if you're breathing like this. And so breathing from your diaphragm, it really helps you stay calm. And having a consistent pre-shot routine, I don't think a lot of people really focus on having a good pre-shot routine. And if you do all of these things, you should have confidence in your routine to be able to execute. Then there are things as silly as putting the tongue to the roof of your mouth. And having like a funny keyword, to thinking about Vision 54, right? I was like, math, okay, it's hard. Where you have like your think box and your play box, and there's so many things that you can do. And I almost felt like I overcomplicated it by doing too much of that, and by just focusing on having good breathing, a good solid routine, and preparing yourself in a way that feels good to you, then that's the best thing you can do. And play. Play. I didn't play as much as I should. And for anyone who has junior golfers right now, make them play. Teach them how to score. I was so focused on I was a range rat. I was always on the driving range, always trying to fix my swing, tinker with my swing, and I wish I just played. So get out on the golf course. You need to desensitize yourself. So if you're nervous being on the golf course, then don't take yourself away from it. Put yourself in those situations so you're uncomfortable more to be comfortable.
Yeah, honestly, I love so much of what you've just said there. There's so many people that if they struggle with tournament rounds and taking practice rounds and turning it into good scores can learn a lot from what Paige just said there. I think so many people will find themselves or think that you're describing them in exactly what you've just said about yourself. That was the player you were. It's certainly the player I was. I was a much better player on the range than I ever was on a golf course, and I just never could figure out how to take that same game to the golf course. So some amazing advice there. To something we chatted about earlier on, Theo's asking, do you struggle hitting inside the bay versus outside? Like, do you find your game is the same inside versus outside?
So yeah, we discussed this, and I feel that I'm a bit different here, where most people actually hit it better with inside the bay.
Yeah, perfect
and then
lie,
they
controlled
perfect lie
environment.
off of a mat, and then they struggle when they take it to the golf course. I actually hit it better on the golf course because I can feel the grass and I'm able to adjust my swing to be able to hit the ball better. And so I hit it much farther out on the golf course than I do inside the bay. But yeah, it's never affected me one way or another during the fitting process. And I think that's the same for everyone else. The bays are so big and nice here that you don't feel cramped and you don't feel like it's an issue.
Yeah, the environment is super, super important. Let's see, what else have we got here? Andrew's got an interesting take on that. He thinks that playing a different sport helps. Interesting. Did you play other sports growing up? Or you did?
So I was a gymnast before I switched over to golf.
Following in mom's shoes?
And I was trying to go for the Olympics. I ended up fracturing my kneecap twice and had a couple really bad injuries. So then I switched over to golf. But yeah, I see so many kids now who are specializing at such a young age, and I think that's the worst thing you can possibly do. I think that I was able to transition very quickly into golf because of my gymnastics background, where I had body awareness and flexibility and strength and a work ethic. And so I would love to see kids now be 3-sport athletes in high school even. And you have and especially if you want golf to be ultimately what you want to do, you're going to burn out so quickly if you're 4 or 5 years old and that's all you do. And
100%.
I've seen that multiple times from kids who have finally amazing junior golfers. They go to college and they get away from their parents and they're like, I'm done because I'm burnt out and I don't have someone pushing me
Just
anymore.
had enough.
And I think having a different sports background really does help.
Yeah, totally agree. 2 and 6 Golf Club is asking, what are the best drills to control face contact?
So I think that face contact comes from so many different variables, right? So like, I think most people have inconsistent contact because their tempo is out of control.
Yeah.
And so I like tempo drills. Tiger Woods mentioned this drill and he said that he would do it all the time. It's the stop at the top drill, where you go to the top, you stop it, and then you have to sync everything together. That's a really great one. Another one is the flamingo drill, where you set up and you drop your right foot back, and so all the weight is on your left foot, and you have to hit half shots, and again, everything connects. If you're a little out of control, you'll fall backwards, you fall forward.
That's a really good one.
I love doing knockdown drills, and so just hitting half shots and really getting comfortable hitting the ground. I think some people are scared to take a divot, and they don't get in the right position because they're lifting up. And so hitting half shots, knockdown shots, but the best thing to do is work on your short game. If you can't hit a consistent chip shot in the center of the face, you will never be able to hit your full swing in the center of the face. So don't move on unless you are consistently hitting in the center, and then from there it really does carry on.
Have you ever thought, I mean, obviously right now you're so busy, with all the different things you've got going on. Have you ever thought about getting into some form of coaching or mentorship? Because you clearly have a depth of knowledge that is way deeper than people have any idea. So much experience of playing tournament golf and preparation and all these different things. Is that something you'd like to get into at some point?
Yeah, so that was what I wanted to do. It was my backup plan if I wasn't going to make it as a professional. And then this media career happened, and I love this. And I am able to still be an instructor. And so I share all of my golf knowledge through my subscription site only page, and as well as on YouTube.
Right.
But longer form. So I don't really showcase this as much on like an Instagram, a Twitter, or Facebook, because it is really difficult to get into like the nitty gritty of teaching. But yeah, before all of this happened too, to make extra money to pay for my golf career, I was caddying, I was running junior golf clinics, I was teaching, and so I've always loved golf instruction, and I feel like that is actually where I shine, because golf is very difficult. And I feel like when you look on social media, you see people trying to overcomplicate it to almost prove how smart they are and how much they know. But I feel like what I do well is I can simplify it and make it really easy to follow, because again, we all just assume that people know exactly what we're talking about, and you can't teach as like a Mac O'Grady with P1, P2, P3, people's mind would just like explode. So
we've definitely seen that.
And it's the same thing for you when you're talking about club fitting and technology. You want to give information, but you can't overcomplicate it, because there's only like 1% of the people who play golf who really truly understand what you're talking about, and you want to make it for everyone.
We don't want people switching off, and there's a message in there somewhere. Then if we overcomplicate or get overly technical, we just switch them off, and they just go, this is way beyond my comprehension level. So I love that. Which of your head covers is your favorite? We know Nico is the favorite, but of the swag ones, which is the favorite?
Oh, that's a really hard one. I really do like my putter cover that I have on my bag right now. It says, activate your glutes. People do like that one. I love any of their defaced head covers, where they'll take like past presidents and turn them into the Joker, essentially. And I'm a big comic book nerd, and most people don't know that about me. And so those are just really cool, and they're a bit kind of like darker and edgier, because my whole bag is bright pink, and I feel like I can be quite bubbly. And so to have these like kind of creepy, crazy head covers, like I just think it's so fun.
Love it. Okay, guys, we've got maybe like a couple more minutes here. We've got a little bit more content to shoot, so maybe sort of get the questions coming in now. We'll take maybe a couple more. I think this one's quite sort of on topic of what we were talking about today. Kenny's asking about one length builds. You've tried one length in the past. Thoughts?
Yeah, I really liked it. So we talked about how I struggle with my longer irons, and actually also my shorter ones as well.
And you're really, really good in the middle.
Really good right in the middle. And so we were thinking that I should actually probably go to a one length iron. It would fit me quite well.
Be interesting to try it.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. But again, it just shows how individualized the fitting process is, because that could be something that can completely change my game, and then for someone else it could ruin them, you know. And that's why you have to go get fit, and you have to go through this process, because it is so different. I'm sure our bags are like night and day on like what I play and you play, and like what fits us best.
We all are, aren't we? We're all so unique in our preferences and the courses we play, and our scar tissue. Like, that's one thing I always find talking to golfers is there's clubs that are in there that are kind of just their little safety blanket. You know, if all is going really, really badly, they can lean on these. I've got those in my bag, and I think everyone should have those in their bag, because you need some way of playing the game when it feels like all else is failing. So we're all definitely.
I actually have a question for you, because I do get this question a lot when I talk about club fitting, and it's, when do you get club fitted? At what point in your golf journey is it okay to go get fit for the first time? And I always tell people, like, you want to at least have consistent contact. But what do you think is best when you're doing it?
I think being club fit at what the level that people know us to do our club fitting process, centeredness of contact is the most crucial thing. I always say to people, if you can hit it in the middle for me, I can make your golf ball dance. I can make it go up and down and left and right and do whatever I need it to do. But what I also encourage people to do is start off with, it doesn't have to be custom fitting like you know, every fancy shaft or, you know, all the bells and whistles. But make sure you're using the right length, the right grip size, the right weight of club. Even things like loft and lies and set composition, like even day one, those are important, because it really does kind of change the trajectory of your improvement curve, right? So if you're not fighting your equipment, your stuff's too heavy. We've tried some stuff today, and you're like, no, that's
immediately no.
Yeah, immediately you know that's a no. But if you're a new golfer, you don't know when to say no. So you don't know when it's time to say, yeah, that club really doesn't help me swing the way I want to swing. So I actually think at every level, whether you're a PGA Tour player, whether you're literally on day one, some form of club fitting is going to be valuable and help you play better than you would have otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool. Okay, guys, we have so much to still get on with. So huge thank you to Paige for joining us. This has been a treat. I think I've learned way more about your golfing journey, which I'm really pleased to have done. It's been a fun day to learn more about your equipment and kind of what's in the future for you in this game. Nothing but continuing to be the most sort of popular, most followed person in the game. So looking forward to doing more of these in the future. And we need to get you up to Canada to play some
I know.
golf.
Thanks for having me. And thank you guys so much for all of the fun, amazing, and very entertaining comments that we saw.
Yes, the ones that we read out and the ones that
I
we didn't.
kept chuckling and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to leave that one alone. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you again soon.